Hi class, we move on to our next section for this week, and that's planning. Now, next week you're going to get your first quiz. This is how they did the last semester. The average was 85. Basically, I'm shooting for an average of about 80, so they did a little better. Somebody got 100%, which I always look at the high score because it pretty much tells me whether or not the quiz is doable or not. Obviously, this is very doable. And when you look at this distribution, what does it tell you? Well, there's a group up here that clearly knows the material really well, and then there's one that's kind of lagging behind. And there's another group here, and then there's another group here. So what I need to do is try to get these all together to make one distribution. But that typically happens. Now, the thing about the quizzes is if average goes below 80, or 82 in this case, and the reason why is there's great inflation for you grad students. There really is. And the reason why there has to be great inflation, if you get below a B, the course basically comes close to not counting. So in effect, getting below a B is like a failing grade, so I have to think about it. Now, those of you who are undergraduates, I treat you differently. What happens is that I curve you against other undergraduates, not against the grad students. And not only that, but there are two exams there. And so the grad students have to take the graduate exam, and the undergraduates take the undergraduate exam. If you take the wrong exam, 0. So be careful. What is the difference? You're actually taking the same exam. There's basically a big database with like 300 problems in it, and I just say, okay, pick 25 or whatever, and that's your quiz. And so the difference is that you grad students, you only get one question at a time. The undergraduates, you get the whole exam to see at once. Now you're sitting there saying, gee, Dr. Cho, why don't you do that for the grad students? Well, the problem is that with the grad students, I've had a problem with cheating. And so and what I found out is when I put the whole exam out, they print it out and give it to their friends. So by doing one at a time, that greatly reduces the cheating. Now, one thing is this exam was actually 75 minutes. They got more problems than you did. But the 75 minutes and the average time is 50 minutes. And so they didn't take advantage of all their time. So take your time, use your discipline, think through it. Now, for those of you who are worried about multiple choice exams, they're typically either top down or bottoms up. Top down is I can read the question and know right away what it is I need to look for. So I just start hunting through the answers to find the answers I want. In certain situations, you don't know what the answer is, and that's bottoms up. I have to look at all the answers and figure out which one is the best answer. That's what happens a lot in bottoms-up questions. You end up picking answers that are actually correct, but they don't count. And they don't count because you have to pick the best answer. And there's always something subtle or something that comes from the question that points you in the right direction. The key to all this is maintain your discipline. Now, here's a couple of examples. What you do is when you read a question, have a piece of scratch paper next to you and write down what are the key words to this question. In this case, it's internal and external. Now, internal and external, future potential. Externally, are they really caring about future potential? They're more caring about what it is you're going to deliver to them. Is it about business success? Well, yeah, they both kind of want business success. But impact on the customer. And this is vague. This is straightforward. And it's an internal issue, and it's also an external issue, because externally it's your customer. Efficiency, that's more of an internal issue. So impact on the customer is the right answer. But the key thing is to look at these keywords. Now, construction foreman posts a large sign requiring all worksite visitors to don a hard hat and safety glasses. He also purchased copious quantities, which means a lot, of both items and made them readily available at the entrance. The foreman is engaged in. The key thing is he bought a lot of these things. And what is he engaged in? Well, this is where you look bottoms up and you see it's a risk question. So, is he IDing risk? Is he mitigating risk? Is he controlling documenting something? Or is he looking at probability and consequences? You go by the information in the question. And so he's not IDing risk because it doesn't say anything about him pointing something out. But why is everybody wearing a hard hat? Well, to make sure that when they go into the construction site, excuse me, they don't have something fall on top of their heads. So what they're trying to do is there's a risk that you can get hurt. So he's mitigating risk. Yeah, a lot of problems are like that. Now for you 470 students, because you have the entire exam, there's a certain strategy to it. First thing is when you read a problem, if you can't think of the answer after reading the entire problem in the first 10 seconds, skip it. Go to the next problem. Then the simpler problems will get out of the way, and that leaves you a lot of time to do the last problems. Identify the keywords as I showed, and then think about what topic are they asking about, because in each topic area there's only a certain number of ideas, or if you get stuck, if you know the topic area, you can go look it up. Once you know the topic, what is the concept? And for example, one of the big concepts is what drives project management, and it's the triple constraint. And at the center of the constraint, if I don't have enough, it's quality. And one thing you see over and over again is the answers to problems are related somehow to the triple constraint. Now, late submissions. Here's what I'm adopting, and it's not necessarily I flip coins about doing this on such a short time frame, but I thought, yeah, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Basically, if you turn it in up to, like if you turn it in up to 15 minutes late, I'm not going to take off for it. But up to 1 hour late, there's no penalty. But if you're 1 hour and 1 minute late, then yes, there is a penalty. And you could say, but I was only 1 minute past. No, you already got a 60-minute grace period. You're 61 minutes past. If you're 1 day late, 5% penalty. And up to the last Monday before class, it's 10% off. And this is what I refer to as my amnesty period. And why do I do that? Because I can give you a 0 and you'll never do it, but what do you learn? You don't learn anything. And so I would prefer you learn something, but I also have to be fair to the people who do it on time, but there's only a 10% penalty. Now, PM2, this is a recitation, which I did on PM1, if you get stuck. And once again, what are the keywords here? Maintain your discipline. This is asking you to figure out, it tells you to use the risk factor formula to figure out whose project is riskier, Akbar or Jeff. For those of you who don't know who Akbar and Jeff is, they're two guys who wear fezzes, and they were created by Matt Groening, who created The Simpsons. I think he's a pretty funny guy. Anyway, when we look at the risk factor equation, what is it that we need to know? I just need to know what PF is and CF is. Now you're looking at this and say, wait a minute, we never talked about functions. What am I supposed to do? Oh, no. You do know what to do. And that's, okay, I need two things. The probability and the consequence. Well, one thing it tells you is this probability distribution function is flat, which means that your odds of hitting 0.8 are exactly the same as 0.2. Now, if I have a flat distribution, I could use integrals or something like that, but what it really comes down to is what do you think the number you use to model? When in doubt and it doesn't tell you, what do you use? The average. So what's the average between 0 and 1? Yeah, it's a half. Now, Right away, for Akbar's project, I now know P. Now I need to know C. Yeah, you can see what C is, so I can plug it in and figure it out. Now, what do I do about Jeff? Oh my God, his isn't flat. What do I do? Well, again, the probability equal distribution. Flat distribution. Now, how do I figure out the average consequence? Well, the way to do that is, supposing I had half of a 5 and half of a 7, well, then the average would be 6. So what you would do is use the areas, so 0.3 and 0.4, 0.7 and 0.1. And so I multiply those together, and what do I divide by? Well, it's 0.3 plus 0.7, so it's 1. And so that's where I come up with the consequence for Jeff, and I can solve the problem. Maintain your discipline. When you see problems like this, don't panic. Think about, okay, what is it that I need to know? And you can solve these so-called problems that, oh my God, are unfair, all by yourself. That covers this week. If you have any questions, let me know. And everyone, take care.